You ever feel like your workouts are doing more harm than good? Like your knees ache for days, your back feels tighter with every set, and yet you keep grinding, telling yourself it's all part of getting older? I used to think the same. That stiffness? Normal. That popping sound in my knee? Nothing serious. That nagging lower back pain? Just part of the grind. But let me hit you with a truth that most trainers won't say out loud. After 40, the wrong leg exercises won't just slow you down, they'll wreck you. See, the fitness industry loves to push this no pain, no gain nonsense. But no one talks about the pain that doesn't go away. The kind that creeps in over time, slowly eats away at your progress, and leaves you wondering why your body feels worse instead of better. And it's usually not about effort. It's about using the wrong tools for the wrong body at the wrong time. Here's the hard part. Most people over 40 are still training like they're 25. They follow outdated programs, copy what others are doing, or worse, they trust generic advice from influencers who've never coached a day in their life. The result? Worn-out knees, tight hips, fragile lower backs, and months of lost progress. I've been there. I've seen guys lose years of hard work because no one told them what to avoid. That's why today, I'm laying it out. No fluff, no ego. Just 4 popular leg exercises that are silently destroying your body after 40. And the smarter alternatives you can start using today. And let me be clear, this isn't about training less. It's about training smarter. Because when your joints start talking, you better listen. Or they'll start screaming. If this is already hitting close to home, hit that subscribe button, because what's coming next might just change the way you train forever. 1. The silent spine killer. Why the leg press is not your friend. After 40, let's be real, the leg press is one of those exercises that looks safe. You're sitting down, your back's supported, and it feels like you're in control. But for people over 40, that illusion of safety is exactly what makes it so dangerous. See, the problem isn't the machine itself. It's how most people use it, pushing for maximum depth, stacking on heavy plates, chasing that full range of motion like it's the Holy Grail. Trainers love to say, get low, knees to your chest. Sounds great. Until you realize your spine and joints are paying the price. Here's what really happens. When you go too deep on the leg press, especially under heavy load, your pelvis tilts. This causes something called a butt wink, a rounding of your lower back that puts insane pressure on the intervertebral discs. Now, combine that with aging discs that are already drier and more fragile after 40, and you've got a perfect recipe for herniation. But that's not all. Your knees? They're taking a beating too. When you bend past 90 degrees with all that weight, the sheer force inside the joint spikes. And if your cartilage is already thinning, which, let's face it, is common after 40, you're accelerating the wear and tear. Chronic pain becomes more likely. And once it sets in, your training freedom starts shrinking fast. Most people think they're doing something hardcore. But what they're really doing is loading joints, not muscles. And the risk-to-reward ratio? Just not worth it. Especially when safer, smarter options exist that give you the same, or better, results without wrecking your body. But that's just the beginning. Because there's another popular move that seems functional, but hides a much bigger risk than you think. 2. The knee trap. How lunges turn into long-term damage. On paper, lunges look amazing. Functional, compound, hits multiple muscles at once. It's the kind of exercise trainers love to include in every leg day. But for people over 40, lunges can quietly become one of the biggest joint stressors in your entire routine. Here's why. Lunges combine three things that, on their own, are already challenging for an aging body: instability, asymmetrical load, and forward movement. Stack those together, and you've got the perfect storm for knee pain and lower back strain, especially if you're using dumbbells or a barbell to make them more effective. Most people don't realize it, but the moment your front foot hits the ground, your knee is absorbing a ton of force. And if your mechanics are even slightly off, which is incredibly common when balance is involved, that pressure shifts into the wrong places. The joint starts taking impact it was never designed to handle, over and over again. Biomechanical studies have shown that even with perfect form, the front knee can experience forces 3 times your body weight during a lunge. Now think about how many people don't have perfect form. Think about how hard it is to keep your spine neutral, your hips aligned, and your knees tracking straight when you're tired, or when one leg is stronger than the other. The other trap? Lunges seem easy enough that people add them casually, as a warm-up, at the end of a workout, or even worse, as part of HIIT circuits with speed and fatigue involved. That's when technique flies out the window and long-term damage begins. For people over 40, who may already have a history of minor knee tweaks or old injuries, that's a ticking time bomb. You start feeling a pinch here, a weird stiffness there, and before long, your joints feel inflamed and your motivation dips. You wonder what's wrong, because you're doing all the right exercises. But the truth is, you're just stacking dysfunction on top of wear and tear. That's how chronic pain starts, quietly and gradually. But here's the good news. You can still build strong, functional legs without lunges. There are safer alternatives that give you the same glute and quad engagement without putting your knees on the front line. And we'll get to those soon. But first, there's another classic machine that almost everyone uses without realizing how dangerous it really is. 3. The joint destroyer in disguise, rethinking the leg extension machine. It looks harmless, right? You sit down, adjust the pad, and extend your legs. No movement, no balance needed, no weight on your back. The leg extension machine feels like one of the safest options in the gym. But for people over 40, it's one of the most deceptive. Here's the real problem. Unlike squats or other compound movements, the leg extension isolates the knee joint in a way that doesn't happen in real life. You're putting all the stress on one area, the patellofemoral joint, and doing it repeatedly, under load, without the help of surrounding muscles. And that's a problem, especially when cartilage is already wearing down. During the last few degrees of leg extension, the pressure on the patella skyrockets. We're talking about up to 6 times your body weight in compressive force on a very small patch of cartilage. And if that surface is already thinning, which is common after 40, that kind of stress accelerates degeneration fast. Most people don't even feel the damage at first. It's subtle. A little clicking, a bit of stiffness, maybe a burning sensation under the kneecap. So they keep going, thinking they're strengthening their quads, when in reality, they're grinding down one of the most delicate joints in the body. It's also worth noting, the force in a leg extension is a shear force, meaning it pulls the tibia forward while pushing the femur back. That's the exact opposite of what your knee wants, especially if you've had any kind of ligament injury in the past. It's like dragging sandpaper over a weak spot, again and again. You might think, but my quads need work. Sure, and they should be trained. But not like this. There are smarter ways to target your quads that support the joint instead of attacking it. Exercises that spread the load, engage other stabilizers, and match how your body moves in real life. And speaking of real-life danger, the next exercise might feel athletic, but it's doing more damage than good for anyone over 40. Let's talk about what's really happening when you jump, land, and explode again, all in the name of power. 4. High impact, high risk. The truth about plyometrics. After 40, explosive, athletic, powerful. That's how plyometrics are marketed, and there's no denying the appeal. Jump boxes, weighted jumps, bounding drills. They look like the ultimate way to build legs that are strong and reactive. But after 40, these high-impact moves might be quietly tearing you down from the inside out. Here's the deal. Plyometrics create insane force, not just when you jump, but especially when you land. That moment when your feet hit the ground, that's where the real impact happens, and research shows it can generate forces up to 10 times your body weight in a fraction of a second. Now, let that sink in. If you weigh 170, your joints are absorbing over 1,700 pounds, mostly through your knees, hips, and spine. And after 40, your ability to absorb that force is not the same. Your tendons are less elastic, your cartilage is thinner, your bones are more vulnerable, and your recovery time? Way slower. But here's what makes it worse. Plyometrics look cool. So people start doing them without proper prep, without progression, and often with extra weight, like holding dumbbells or wearing a vest. They treat it like a strength exercise, when in reality, it's an advanced skill that demands perfect joint mechanics and explosive tissue quality most people simply don't have anymore. And here's the kicker. Even people with good form aren't safe. Studies have shown that individuals over 40 who include heavy plyometrics regularly have a 64% higher risk of chronic tendon issues like patellar tendinitis, and a 78% higher chance of problems in the sacroiliac joint, a key point in the lower back that affects everything from walking to sleeping. You might not feel it right away, but the micro damage adds up. The knees start clicking. The hips feel tight. Your back flares up after leg day. And instead of getting stronger, you're getting slower, more inflamed, and more limited. So should you give up on power training entirely? No. But you need to be smart. There are low-impact ways to stay explosive, reactive, and functional without pounding your joints into dust. And one of the best places to start is with a simple movement that rewires your strength from the ground up. 5. Smarter gains. Why the Bulgarian split squat changes the game. Forget everything you know about lunges. The Bulgarian split squat is a different beast. It looks similar, sure. One leg in front, one leg behind. But the execution, the joint load, and the results? Totally next level. Especially for lifters over 40 who want strength without the punishment. Here's the first game changer: stability. Because the back foot stays elevated and stationary, you eliminate that forward movement that makes lunges so unpredictable. That means way less wobbling, way less torques on the knees, and way more control over your form. And when your joints aren't fighting to stay aligned, your muscles can actually do their job. A study out of Ontario found that the Bulgarian split squat reduces knee pressure by around 30% compared to traditional lunges, using the same weight. That's huge, especially if you've got a history of knee pain, or if you're just not willing to gamble your joint health for a few more reps. But it doesn't stop there. This move also lights up your glute medius, the muscle on the side of your hip that stabilizes the entire lower body. Most people neglect it, and over time, that leads to poor alignment, lower back issues, and uneven muscle development. Bulgarian split squats hit it hard, like 45% more activation than even a traditional squat. It's also one of the best exercises to correct muscle imbalances. Let's be honest, most of us have one dominant leg. Years of favoring one side, sitting crooked, or just living life create asymmetries that start messing with everything. This exercise isolates each leg, exposes the weaknesses, and helps balance them out over time. And here's an underrated bonus. It stretches the hip flexors and calves at the same time. Those are two areas that tighten up fast as we age, especially if you sit a lot. So not only are you building strength, you're regaining mobility and preventing future restrictions in one move. Bottom line? If you're over 40 and want a joint-friendly, muscle-building, posture-improving lower body move, the Bulgarian split squat should be on your short list. But there's another exercise most people overlook, one that targets the muscle group that quietly protects your knees from falling apart. 6. The forgotten muscle. How the leg curl machine saves your knees. You hear it all the time. Train legs hard. Focus on quads. Squat heavy. Seat, but there's one muscle group that gets neglected by most lifters, and when that happens, the consequences sneak up fast. We're talking about the hamstrings, and the humble leg curl machine might be the joint saver you didn't know you needed after 40. Here's the thing. The hamstrings do way more than just help you bend your knees. They stabilize the pelvis, protect your lower back, and balance out the powerful force of your quads during every step, squat, and movement you make. But studies show that after 40, hamstring strength drops around 15% faster than quad strength if you don't train them directly. That imbalance is a setup for disaster. Weak hamstrings mean more stress on the knees, more pressure on the lumbar spine, and higher risk of injuries when you least expect it. Walking downstairs, getting out of a car, or during a workout that suddenly goes wrong. And here's the kicker. It's a silent weakness. You often don't realize it until it's too late. That's where the leg curl machine comes in. Unlike exercises like Romanian deadlifts, which are great but put a load on your lower back, the leg curl isolates the hamstrings in a safe, controlled position. No spinal compression, no balance challenges, just direct, clean muscle activation right where you need it. Research from Copenhagen found that people with strong hamstrings had up to 35% lower risk of knee injury. Even better, strengthening these muscles significantly reduced chronic low back pain in adults over 40. And with about 30% of that age group already dealing with disc degeneration, that's not a small win. It's a long-term strategy. Plus, there's room to personalize. Rotating your feet inward or outward during the movement shifts the emphasis to different parts of the hamstring. That means you can target weak points, improve muscle balance, and get better results, all while keeping your joints happy. This isn't a flashy exercise, no ego lifting, no viral clips. But if your goal is to train for the long haul, to feel strong, move well, and protect your body, the leg curl machine deserves a permanent spot in your program. And the next one? It's a move almost no one respects, but it holds the secret to balance, mobility, and even blood flow. 7. The calf secret: stability, circulation, and long-term mobility. Most people treat calves like an afterthought, a couple of lazy sets at the end of leg day, maybe some bodyweight reps while waiting for the elevator. But after 40, that small muscle group in your lower leg becomes one of the most important protectors of your mobility, stability, and even circulation. Here's what nobody tells you. Calf strength starts to decline around 2.5% per year once you hit your 40s, unless you actively train it. That might not sound like much, until it adds up. Weak calves don't just mean smaller legs. They mean slower walking, worse balance, and a much higher risk of falls, especially on uneven ground or stairs. But that's just the beginning. Your calves play a critical role in something called venous return. pumping blood back up toward your heart. They're literally known as the second heart of the body. Strong, active calves help prevent varicose veins, swelling, and even improve your overall circulation. So yeah, skipping calf day isn't just bad for aesthetics, it's bad for your health. Let's talk about joint health. When your calves are weak, your ankles stiffen up. You lose dorsiflexion, the ability to bring your toes upward. That one limitation increases your risk of falling by more than 2 times, according to the NIH. And if you've ever tripped for no reason, your ankle mobility was probably the culprit. The fix? Calf raises, done with control, full range of motion, and regular frequency. Whether seated or standing, this simple move strengthens both the gastroc and soleus muscles. That means better shock absorption when walking or running, more joint stability in your ankles, knees, and hips, and more fluid movement in everyday life. Strong calves also pull double duty when it comes to posture and bone health. The tension they create during training stimulates osteoblast activity, the cells responsible for bone growth. That's a huge win for anyone concerned with bone density, especially women post-40, where declines can hit 1 to 2% per year. Bottom line, if you want to keep walking strong, prevent injury, and stay active into your 50s and beyond, stop treating your calves like a side dish. Train them like they matter, because they absolutely do. And now, let's move on to a movement that protects your knees and back, while waking up the most powerful muscle group in your body. 8. Pain-free power. Why the glute bridge should be in every over 40 program. When we talk about lower body strength, most people think squats, deadlifts, lunges. But if you're over 40 and serious about building a stronger, more stable body, without wrecking your spine or knees, the glute bridge needs to be a permanent part of your program. Why? Because it targets the gluteus maximus, the biggest, strongest muscle in your body, without forcing your back to carry the load. And let's be honest, after 40, a lot of us are dealing with low back tension, stiffness, or even chronic pain. Glute bridges allow you to build serious strength while giving your spine a break. Studies from the University of Auckland showed that glute bridges activate the glutes up to 35% more than a traditional squat, with 45% less pressure on the lumbar spine. That's not just impressive, it's a game changer, especially for people who spend hours sitting every day, which weakens the glutes and shortens the hip flexors. And when your glutes are weak, everything else overcompensates. Your lower back starts taking over. Your knees lose alignment. Your pelvis tilts out of position. It's like trying to build a house on soft ground. Things start cracking. Glute bridges rebuild that foundation from the ground up, giving your posture, gait, and lifts a serious upgrade. They're also one of the best moves for pelvic floor strength, which becomes increasingly important as we age, especially for women post-pregnancy. Strong glutes support not just movement, but bladder control, hip stability, and even lower abdominal function. It's functional training in the most literal sense. Another bonus? They improve comfort when sitting, not just by padding your seat with muscle, but by reducing pressure on your tailbone and spine. And with modern life being so desk-bound, that's a quality-of-life upgrade few exercises can offer. The glute bridge is low-risk, high-reward, and crazy effective when done consistently. And as we wrap up the main list, there's one last move we have to talk about. It's both a hero and a villain, depending on how you use it. Bonus reality check. When squats help you or hurt you. Let's get something straight. Squats aren't bad. In fact, a properly executed squat is one of the most effective, functional, and complete movements you can do. But if you're over 40, squats become a double-edged sword. They'll either build you up or slowly break you down. Here's the truth. The benefits of squatting are undeniable. You get quad, glute, hamstring, core activation all in one move. You build strength for everyday life. Sitting, standing, lifting, walking stairs. But the catch is that most people aren't squatting correctly. And at this stage in life, bad form doesn't just stall progress. It leads to injury. The most common mistake? Letting the knees cave inward. That inward collapse spikes the stress on your ACL and patellofemoral joint, two areas already vulnerable after 40 due to ligament aging and cartilage wear. It's not just a small form issue, it's a recipe for chronic pain and future surgery. The second big one? Losing your natural lumbar curve at the bottom of the squat, especially when going deep or lifting heavy. That butt wink shifts pressure from your muscles to your spinal discs and facet joints. And after decades of spinal wear, that's not pressure you can afford to mess with. But when done right, squats are incredible. Weight evenly distributed on your feet, knees aligned with toes, trunk controlled, and only going as deep as your back can stay neutral. That's the formula for lifelong squatting. Not flashy, not maximalist, just sustainable and strong. And if you're not ready for the barbell back squat, that's okay. Start with goblet squats, tempo squats, or box squats. Build confidence, find your range, and focus on control. Squats should work with your body, not against it. At the end of the day, your training should support your life, not steal from it. So don't chase PRs at the cost of your joints. Learn to squat smart. Because done right, it's not just a leg exercise, it's a blueprint for movement that'll keep you strong for decades. If you've made it this far, one thing's clear. You're not just here to train harder. You're here to train smarter. And that mindset? That's what separates people who keep lifting into their 50s, 60s, even 70s, from the ones who flame out in their 40s with worn-out joints and chronic pain. Every exercise we covered today has the power to either build you up or break you down, depending on how and if you use it. And the truth is, the longer you've been training, the more important it becomes to question the things you've always done. Because what got you here won't always get you there. Your body isn't broken. It's just different now. And that's not a weakness. It's a call to evolve, to move with intention, to stop chasing numbers and start building a body that feels strong, resilient, and capable every single day. So here's your challenge. Don't just nod along and go back to the same old program. Pick one change, one exercise swap, one smarter decision. Apply it this week and feel the difference for yourself. Because sometimes the smallest adjustments lead to the biggest breakthroughs. What's the one thing you're changing in your training after this? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. If this video gave you at least one aha moment, drop a like, hit subscribe, and let's keep building this together. And hey, if this helped you, it'll help someone else. Share it with a friend who's still training like they're 25. Their knees will thank you later.